Welcome to the European Economy Spring Forecast. 3 times a year, the European Commission updates its economic forecasts for the euro area, the EU, its member states, and the world. Pierre Moscovici, you're the European Commissioner for Economic and Financial Affairs, Taxation and Customs, and you're here to explain the state of the European economy and its outlook. So the forecast you present today suggests that the European economy is growing faster than previously thought. What explains the recent improvement?
First, the economies of the European Union and especially the euro area are currently benefiting from a number of positive factors, such as the low oil prices, the depreciation of the euro, and I would say a stronger global growth in the world. Low oil prices leave consumers with more money to spend. And we also have lower costs for business, while the cheaper euro and the stronger global economy are good for our exports and for our global competitiveness. This is why I expect the EU economy to grow by 1.8% this year, by 2.1% next year, and while growth in the euro area is forecasted at 1.5% this year and 1.9% this year. So I can say that now we really are in a recovery which is quite significant and capable of reducing what the people in Europe expect, the level of unemployment. These are good news.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned a number of positive factors, so the recent improvement is all down to a bit of luck, really?
No, not at all. It's not luck. In economy, rarely luck or bad luck. The European economy is what is precise in a cyclical upswing, and growth is being driven largely by consumers. These other factors are providing a bit of an extra boost, but so are square economic policies. I would mention the ECB's recent choice of the QE, which I believe is clearly appropriate. There are also structural reforms which are led on the ground, which are starting to pay off in many countries. And also now the fiscal situation in the EU, and especially in the euro area, is no longer a drag on growth. This year, the contribution to growth of fiscal policies is going to be neutral, which is, of course, much better than recessive. We have got now a neutral stance, and this is considered by the Commission as appropriate.
Still, it's fair to say that growth in many countries would not be so good without this extra boost coming from oil prices and the euro.
Yes, it's true. We cannot deny that. It's also true that to say that some countries will benefit more from these factors than others, depending, for example, on their own sensitiveness of their individual economy to oil prices and exchange rates. Similarly, quantitative easing will be more benefiting to countries in which the financial conditions are most difficult. We also expect to see countries where the structural reforms are strongly implemented having a better result than others. For example, for this year, as we see, Malta and Ireland will be the champions. And lastly, in Spain, for example, unemployment rate is expected to fall by over 2 percentage points, which is faster than average. So I would say there are additional factors, not only conjunctural factors, but also structural factors.
So you said it, in Spain, unemployment has been falling by over 2 percentage points, but it still remains very high at over 20%. So in these conditions, can we really say that the situation is improving?
Nobody can be satisfied with the unemployment rates that we see in Europe. Spain, 20%, Greece, 25%, but overall, 11%. It's much too much. And it has been lasting for too long. And this is why our duty is really to reduce the level of unemployment, to fight against that. But again, there are, I would say, encouraging signs. Because it's true that when you lose 2 percentage points, even when you start at 20%, it's good news. It's also good when the unemployment for the youngsters is getting down. And this is why we must really have a European policy which is driven by the obsession to create jobs. This is what the Commission does, as well by its fiscal policy, introducing a part of flexibility, which I said it's globally appropriate. That's what the ECB does. That's what the country must do with structural reforms. And finally, it's also the purpose of the Juncker plan of 315 billion euros, which is dedicated precisely to enhance growth and to create jobs. But I think that we're on the right path, but we've got to stick to our commitments and to make more and more efforts.
Now, what's happening with inflation? Once it was too high, now it's considered too low. Where do we stand and what's the outlook?
Inflation was already falling for some time when the drop in oil prices late last year caused it to drop below zero. But we were not in deflation. And now we're getting out of the threat, that the inflation rate is about 0%. We expect the level of inflation to remain at such low levels for the next couple of months, but forecasts indicate a rise in the latter part of the year, 2015, and in 2016 to about 1.5% in both the EU and the euro area. And you know that the policy of the ECB targets something like 2%. I think the modest recovery in oil prices, the stronger economy, the weaker euro, and the ECB's policies should all contribute to this target about 1.5%. So we're out of deflation, but we're still in too low levels of inflation. And this is why I think our policies must keep that in mind and be appropriate to have the right level of inflation in order to consolidate the capacities to create jobs and growth.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Commissioner.